Globe Metals and Mining is an African-focused resources company focused on the Kanyika Niobium Project in Malawi. The Kanyika Niobium Project will produce niobium and tantalum products, which are key additives in high-strength, low-alloy steels and electronics. And a JORC Mineral Resource Estimate indicates Kanyika could support a 20-year mine life. Joining me to discuss more is Globe Metals and Mining CEO Paul Smith. Paul, welcome to the Stock Network.
Pleasure speaking with you, and it's always good to share great news we have in terms of Globe Metal and Mining.
Now, Paul, what are the key highlights of the Kanyika Niobium Project in Malawi that you now have under development, and what do you believe makes it so compelling to investors?
Globe Metals and Mining is an established project company. It has a very exciting niobium tantalum project in Malawi. The project's well developed. We have a compliant resource and reserve statement in terms of JORC, and we have a completed DFS on the project. So very, very exciting. The project is pre-development, and we are now doing all things required to get the project underway into development. Currently, the NPV for the project is circa $1 billion with a very significant IRR of 47%. So it's very, very exciting.
Now, Paul, moving on to your development milestones, recent announcements from the company indicate the development of the Kanyika Niobium Project is advancing. What are the key building blocks for the project, and which ones have already been put in place, and where are you now focused?
Globe Metals and Mining, in terms of its Malawi niobium and tantalum project, has some fundamental building blocks already in place. Firstly, we have a compliant JORC resource, we have a completed DFS, and very excitingly, we already have the issued mining right and mine development agreement with government. So from a regulatory perspective, this project is ready to go. So going forward, the work we are currently doing is really focused on an update of the BFS and some metallurgical test work to support the chlorination technology which we are applying in terms of refining.
Paul, Globe Metals and Mining has been paving ahead with its development plan. What deliverables do you expect that will be achieved over the coming 12 months?
So much has already been achieved for Globe Metals and Mining historically. Going forward, in the next 12 months, the key focus will be completion of metallurgical test work to validate the BFS update, which we will then undertake. And then quite simply, we'll be raising the required capital to take the project into development and ultimately production. So a very exciting space at the moment, and we're very confident that the discussions currently underway will deliver that funding.
And Paul, when it comes to infrastructure requirements, what's already in place and what still needs to be constructed?
So Globe has been established for quite a while. The project started in 2012, essentially. Fortunately, because we are now phasing the project in terms of two key phases, phase one being 10% of the full production of this 27-year life mine, we fortunately have sufficient power in place at mine site to fully develop phase one. The other infrastructure we are currently looking at developing is the upgrade of access to the mine site, which is not a challenge. There is an existing road. It's a question of upgrading that road to mine standard. So from a power perspective, from an access perspective, and fortunately from a water resource perspective, we have the infrastructure available to take this mine forward.
Moving now on to the commodities that you're focused on, why do you believe niobium oxide is considered superior to ferroniobium?
Niobium oxide is essentially superior to ferroniobium for a number of key reasons. Ferroniobium has a lower niobium content, around 60%, where an oxide, a high purity oxide, is around 99.95% niobium oxide. So a very high purity. Why that's important is it is used in a different application in terms of ferroniobium. And that application is in the new world we live in terms of electronics, optics, very high specialty steels that go into space and aeronautics. So that's why Globe is focusing on oxide rather than ferroniobium.
And Paul, when we look at niobium demand dynamics, niobium is used in battery technologies, things like alloys and superconductors that are critical to military, aerospace, space, medical industries. Can you provide perhaps a brief rundown of current and expected niobium demand dynamics?
In terms of niobium demand dynamics, the key source of niobium is ferroniobium. Around 90% of global demand is satisfied from the key players in Brazil in terms of ferroniobium, obviously CBMM being the major and dominant supplier. In terms of global demand, we see very positive outlook for niobium demand, simply because the applications for niobium are growing on a daily basis in terms of electronics, optics, specialty steels, and the like. So we've seen very firm prices for the product, and we will probably continue, certainly in the medium term, to see robust prices for niobium. So it's a great future for the metal.
Moving on to sustainability considerations, what are the key planks of the Kanyika Niobium Project's ESG-related practices and also policies?
Thank you. So Globe Metals and Mining take the ESG aspects of the project very seriously. And to that extent, we have extensive social programs in place. We have an agreement with government in terms of how we're going to go forward in terms of our social obligations. And obviously on the environmental side, we will be applying global standards in terms of our environmental development of this project. So yeah, all of these aspects we do take very seriously. And fortunately, we're in a good place. We have a very supportive relationship with our local community and with government, which I think is very healthy for the project going forward.
Finally, Paul, Globe Metals and Mining has stated its desire to add to its project book over time. What kind of projects are on your wish list, and what jurisdictions will you be considering?
Thanks. So in terms of Globe Metal and Mining's development strategy, obviously the Kanyika Niobium Project is number one. That is absolutely imperative that we get that project up and running and successfully implemented. However, in terms of Eastern Africa, there are some very exciting other projects with strategically aligned metals, such as rare earth elements, base metals, and platinum group metals, where Globe will have a very good look at these projects and potentially some exciting acquisitions going forward. But as said, Kanyika project for us is the non-negotiable in terms of delivery, but we will look at expanding our business in the region.
Paul Smith, thank you for the update on Globe Metals and Mining's progress.
It was really good speaking with you. And yeah, we look forward to, exciting times going forward. Thanks very much for your time.